Hey everybody, Pastor Sam here with your verse of the day for Gospel Gunslingers. I'm here with the bronze of a powerful Indian warrior, a reminder of the indigenous peoples. Most everybody's got indigenous blood in this area. You know, for centuries there's been prejudice against people, and the more indigenous blood, the more prejudice is against them. But there's a corresponding pride that they came from these people who were mighty and strong. Today we're in Proverbs 24. I'm going to shout out several verses, starting with 5. A wise man is strong, yea, a man of knowledge increaseth strength. A wise man is strong, yea, a man of knowledge increaseth strength. You know, I'd read this plaque to you. If my assistant gunner was here, he'd shout that out for you, but it's not in Spanish. It's in an Indian language, probably Tarahumara. So, I can't tell you what the history is of this mighty warrior. You know, when people have an opportunity to take a breath, it's amazing how often they just want to party or they just want to lie around. And nothing against rest. That's part of God's covenant and his kingdom too. But really our goal should be to increase strength for the battle, for the trials that come. And I'm amazed, especially amongst Americans, how many of them you shake their hand and there's nothing to it. It's just a wet noodle, because they don't make a point to increase strength. They don't make a point to be ready for greater challenges. And then when greater challenges come, they're just caught with their pants down. They just want to think that, you know, they had this comfortable worldview that wasn't ever going to be part of it. Verse 6, for by wise counsel thou shalt make thy war, and in multitude of counselors there is safety. So this is where we're also building in wisdom, and we're building around us people that are wise so that we can stand in the evil day, so that when the battle comes, we can overcome. Verse 10, if thou faint in the day of adversity, thy strength is small. You know, Carnegie Christianity has so affected our world, where everybody thinks that they're the bigger man because they've escaped a dangerous situation without conflict. And all that does is allows the bullies to get bigger and bigger and more. And now we're to the place, there's so much bullies and so many and so strong, we may never get rid of them all. But at least we can try. If you faint in the day of adversity, how small is your strength? Out teaching in the ninja school, you know, we didn't beat everybody within an inch of their life every day. But once in a while, it happened. We take people to their limit and beyond. And it's amazing how that would weed out the lily-livered. It's amazing how some people would think, oh, this is a violation. This isn't what I came in for. Well, what did you come in for? Because if you fall in the day of battle, how small is your strength? A brother's born for adversity. It is for the dark day. This whole mentality of I want to come home tonight, that's a bunch of bull. How about I want to have stood by my principles when the chips were down, when it was for all the marbles? That is what our mentality should be. And I think this guy behind me, I think he's going to stand for his principles when the chips are down, even if they're heathenish. You know, I didn't get any comments from my last post. I'm a little curious, and that's where I went out on a limb. You know, these verses they're intended to challenge you every day. Every class should be a challenge. Every practice should be a challenge. But once in a while, there's going to be a bad challenge, and it's going to hurt for days. And I need to know who's in it for the long haul. I need to know who is here because they want to know about my personal treasure of experiences of mortal combat that have brought me to this place and this day to be able to stand in the sun and tell you what the Word of God is for the hour. Are you interested in the places where I've been challenged, where I have put these principles to the test on the mat and on the sands of battle, on the arena in Mortal Kombat? Are you interested? I need to know. I need to know who's coming along, who is gonna be a prayer partner and a life partner for me to push forward. I'd like to know who my partners are. I would like to know who the upper belts are, who the ranked people are that are gonna be the first and second and third line of defense against adversaries. Let's put together a council of wise counselors, according to the proverb. You know, I also wanted to bounce over. Ecclesiastes is right next door. You go to 10:17, and it's basically, blessed is the nation whose princes are of noble birth. They had a kingly line then. It was hard enough for them to keep incest out of their kingly line. If you read about Judah and Tamar and some other things. Read about Lot and his daughters. So we don't have nobility anymore, but I'll tell you what, throughout the history of our nation, of the United States, it was nice to know that people came from families that were known not as thieves, not as crooks, but as known as honorable people. And now that's pretty much gone. But at least the other proverb says, even a child is known by his doings, whether his work be good or evil. So we can set our own wake. We can set our own path in the sea, and we'll be known for where we stood and where we fell. And I'd like to know who even is interested in the places where I have been challenged and had to stand. And it says, continuing in 10:17 Ecclesiastes, it says, whose princes eat at a proper time for strength and not for drunkenness. You know, they could be like old Kim Jong-un over there and just smoking and drinking and shagging their stable of hookers until he might have died at 35-ish years of age. But in a land where people have a noble line, where they have a lineage of upstanding people, they're going to eat at a proper time for strength and not for drunkenness. Children, they just want cookies and candy. But when someone becomes a man, they're thinking, how can I increase strength? They wake up grumbling like an old bear saying, I need some protein, I need some protein, I need some protein. And thank God that women's fitness has become a thing. You know, in the 80s, it was just all about not getting fat for ladies. And they had their artificial shoulder pads. Anybody remember that? The ladies in their shoulder pads. Now women's athletics is a thing, and women's health and Miss Fitness is a thing, and the idea of being strong is again in vogue. It should have been always. I'm Pastor Sam. That's your verse of the day for Gospel Gunslingers.